Good morning, little friends. We are back for our last episode with the fruits of the Spirit that we have been covering here at New Wine Church. And I am so glad that you are here. We have got to spend 9 amazing weeks on the 9 fruits of the Spirit. And we're going to do a little review about what those fruits were in regards to, God's blessing on our life and how it shows coming out of us. But I just wanted to let you know that if you noticed, last night was a very windy night. And here in the garden, it's been a very windy day as well. So there's a little craziness going on here in the garden, even though this is going to be our last week here. I wanted to let you know that there's been a small amount of damage. Now, we had talked about what it meant to be connected to the vine, and guess what? Some of Miss Lena's vines have broken. We've had a few arms fall off, a few branches fall short, and a few vines come down, but you know what? It's going to be okay, even though we have some windy days in our life. We can pick up, we can move on, and we can definitely move forward and rebuild. So we're going to rebuild here in the garden, and we will get started on that in the weeks to come. But I wanted to review a little bit about what we did last week. Remember, our fruit of the Spirit last week was self-control. Now, I know you did an amazing job with self-control. You guys are firecrackers with keeping it all together. I know that. I've talked to your moms and dads, and I know you've been doing a great job with that. But who remembers what fruit we talked about? Yes, of course, it was the watermelon. And it was a huge watermelon, and Miss Selena had trouble carrying the big watermelon for a great amount of time. So we talked about the watermelon and how wonderful and amazing it was. But just like the watermelon vine, it can keep growing and growing and branching out and taking over. So we want to make sure that when we think about self-control in our own lives, we can't let little things get out of control. We have to have rules for our life. We have to have rules that we obey. And of course, we have to obey the rules and the laws of mom and dad and of the land. So we got to keep our own self under self-control. We got to make sure we do what we should, don't do what we should not. And when we do that, we make sure to keep our lives safe, just as God has intended us. Now, that was only one fruit of the Spirit, but we're going to start way back at the very beginning. Do you remember which fruit we talked about first? We're going to kind of go through them a little bit quicker than we did the other following weeks, but we started out with the apple. And the apple, Miss Selena's getting bit by mosquitoes. The apple was a symbol of love. We talked about how when you cut the apple inside, it shows a little bit of a heart. And we love to look at the apple, how juicy and red it is. And even the absolute shape on the outside is kind of like a red giant heart. So we are very excited to talk about love and how we can show love to others in our little lives. You guys did a great job by that, by the way. Next, we talked about joy. And out came the orange. Remember the bright, sunshiny orange? And we talked about slicing it. And when we sliced an orange slice, it kind of made us remind ourselves of a happy face smile. And God gives you joy. He puts joy in our hearts, something that nobody can ever take away, no matter if you're angry or sad at any given day. God's joy, the joy in our hearts, takes over everything. Now, next one was peace. Do you remember what we talked about with peace? That was Sarah's favorite one, and it was the grapes. And we talked about the bunch of grapes and how all the little pieces make up the whole grape bunch. And it's important to have peace in your life, because when we think of peace, we want to think of the story in the Bible where Jesus calmed the sea. And it's important to have peace in our hearts so that we can be peaceful around with everybody else. No fighting, no arguing, none of that stuff. That is the exact opposite of peace. And we know that you can do a great job with doing wonderful things and spreading all these acts of love and joy all around, and not just only peace. So next we took it back to our fruit of the Spirit of patience. Do you remember what patience reminded us of patience? What fruit? It was the kiwi, the little tiny kiwi. And patience was the pineapple. And pineapple was absolutely difficult to get in. Remember, we have to cut, we have to slice, and we have to take off the little pokey things at the top and on the sides. All of that patience to get in to the very amazing fruit on the inside. And that's when we enjoy our pineapple. You and I can be patient. We can be patient every single day because God helps us. We hate to wait in line. I know that. We hate to wait our turn. But God gives us patience that we can bypass, and we can share, and we can spread the love. Everybody will be like, gosh, that kid is so patient. He is amazing. Yes. So patience was definitely with the pineapple. And then we went on to, what was next? Kindness. Do you remember what we talked about with kindness? Kindness was the kiwi. Miss Celine almost jumped the gun a minute ago. But the kiwi was the kindness, started with the K. And we talked about kindness because inside the kiwi were the little tiny pieces of seeds. And so I talked about spreading little tiny pieces of kindness everywhere. A little act of kindness here, a little act of kindness there. Kindness doesn't have to be big. It can be small amounts of kindness, but they'll mean a great deal to somebody else. So make sure that you're being kind no matter what, at all cost. So let's move on to our next fruit. We talked about goodness, and we wanted to mention the banana. The banana in its half moon shape was for goodness. And we talked about the banana because when you peel off the layers of the banana, you have to get into the inside where all the goodness is. Now, goodness, when you are good and you're a good neighbor, you're a good friend, you're a good helper, those things should make you feel good inside your heart and make you smile. And I like to think of the banana, it looks like a giant, big, great, huge smile. Plus, the banana is a bright, sunshiny yellow. That helps too. It makes us think of nice sunny days. So, I know this is a lot, and you guys have been troopers with keeping up with us with all of these fruits. And if you want to, you can also go back onto the YouTube videos, rewatch them again if you need a little help on any one of the things that we've been talking about these last 9 weeks. So after goodness, we talked about faithfulness. Do you remember what faithfulness was representing? And it came in 2. Yes, the pear. And the pear was a delicious fruit. I brought 2 of them because I thought when you hear the word pear, you think of 2, and that makes me think of best friends. And we talked about having best friends and how faithful they are and what it means to be a great faithful friend. And we talked about God's faithfulness and what it means in our life and how He's there for us no matter what. So faithfulness was an important one. I hope you've been practicing on being faithful, a good faithful friend, and definitely faithful to our very big best friend. So next was, and our last one, because we already covered self-control, was gentleness. And when we talk about gentleness, we talked about, do you remember? The peach. And we warned everybody, with the peach you have to be super gentle because you can't squeeze him or else he bruises. And just like us in our life, we get bruises, bumps, and scrapes. The peach bruises also, even if you squeeze it just a little too hard. So you have to be careful with your words, careful with your actions, careful with, the things that you say and the things that you do every single day. Gentleness matters. Now, those are our 9 fruits of the Spirit, and we took a long time to talk about each and every one of them. But I wanted to remind you that all of these things matter because they're the reason that people see Jesus in us. If we are kind and joyful and peaceful and loving and we're patient and we're faithful, people see those qualities in us and they say, you know what, that kid loves Jesus. I know it because I can see all of those Jesus qualities in that little guy right there or in that little girl over there. So be encouraged that all of this hard work is for a reason. We are spreading the love of Jesus. We are showing people that we are, God's best friend, and we are a part of his family just by the way that we live. So don't give up. I know some of this stuff is hard, and I know it's kind of hard to be kind all the time or be gentle or be patient. I know it's hard to do some waiting, but it's all for a reason, and God says that we are being great examples for him, and we're excited to do that kind of stuff for Jesus. But remember, just like the vine when we talked about in the garden, we have to stay connected to our very big best friend. Because what good is a vine if we are apart? If we are broken off from Jesus, are we going to continue to grow? No. We have to make sure that our lives are staying connected to Jesus so that every single day we can concentrate on growing into an even a more amazing person for him. And that's all that matters. And you know what else all that matters? The inside. Because out of all of our fruits, many of them, the goodness was on the inside of the fruit. You either had to peel or cut away or pluck off some of those things. All the juiciness, all the vitamins and the nutrition, all that stuff is on the inside of the fruit. Guess what? All of our goodness, all of our joy and our love and our peace, all that really matters in us, it's not on the outside. God says what matters is on the inside, and that has to do with our heart and the way that we live for Jesus. So pay extra special attention this week when you're working hard for Jesus. Make sure that your light is shining out bright for him, because in the end, what we do and what we say is a direct reflection of who God is to us. And he's our very big best friend. He's the number one, the most important one to us. So we've got to make him look amazing. And that's by us being amazing. He has changed us from the inside out, and we are shining bright for Jesus. So thank you again for tuning in. We will start a brand new series. I'm not going to tell what it is for next week with Big Church for Little People, but we are very excited to be here with you. And we're very thankful that you've tuned in to be a part of what we have going on. So stay strong, and we will see you next week. See ya.